And what we're going to talk about today is the theory of constraints. So when we're dealing with the theory of constraints, the theory is that every business has a constraint. It's a reason for it not to grow. And every business at all times always has one major constraint to grow. I don't care if you're Amazon or Walmart or Starbucks or a firearm training business. You have one constraint that is preventing you from growing. And it is one of these six. The first one is acquisition, customer acquisition. If you are in a position where you are not able to fill your classes, you cannot get student signups for the life of you, you are canceling classes because nobody's signing up, your problem is acquisition. And your goal for 2026 should be one goal, and that should be to solve acquisition. You're going to solve acquisition with new and better ads, spending more on advertising, but only if it's working, and a better offer. That's how you're going to solve acquisition. Acquisition comes down to a new and better offer, new and better ads, new, better, more. So acquisition should be your only focus. And until you get acquisition solved, you shouldn't even think about anything else in your business. You should focus only 100% on acquisition, on developing a system to attain new customers. And if you're doing less than $1 million a year, one channel, one offer, one service for your acquisition, focusing on your paid ads for one service. If you're doing $1 million a month, that's when you can go to new channels and new businesses and new ideas. But if it's less than $1 million a year, your entire focus is on one channel of acquisition and one offer and one service for that, right? So when I say one offer, I mean, you focus everything on new shooters and then you upsell the new shooters from there, right? Instead of running 10 different ads for 10 different types of classes, you run all of your focus on filling that one class and then upselling from there. That's what your entire focus should be on, is fixing acquisition. Now, let's say that you're great at acquiring new leads, right? You're great at acquiring new leads, but nobody is signing up for your additional programs. Nobody is upselling. That means that your constraint right now is sales. You need to get better at pitching. You need to figure out when to pitch, how to pitch, what to say to close deals. And I can tell you, people will buy anything if you give them a reason to do it right now and you make your offer so awesome that it would be stupid to say no. So with what Tim just did over the weekend and Glenda and JB are doing, right? They basically said, look, here's the offer. And it would be stupid if you say no because it's such a great offer. And just run, and this is where we all get stuck because we run a class and it's $100 and there's no reason to sign up on Saturday rather than next week, right? It's just a class. That's why instructors get stuck. So that said, if your problem is acquisition, you're going to focus your entire goal on 2026 on acquiring new customers. Once you get those new customers, your classes start getting full. Then if people are not growing into other places of your business, then you have a problem with sales and your entire focus should be on fixing that one constraint. The next problem is that if you get the leads and you have the sales, you're in the same problem as Jim because your constraint is then fulfillment or products, right? So Jim has the acquisition, he has the sales, so now he has a problem with fulfillment. So his constraint is product. This is also my constraint right now. I just screwed up big time. I've got like 75 book orders to get out, and I fudged up and thought I ordered from Amazon, and I didn't, and I don't have any books to ship. So my whole business is paused in the first month of January. What a terrible, stupid thing for me to do. Great lesson going into 2026. I'm going to buy 1,000 books and have them sitting here. Just totally brain dead of me. Good lesson. So for some of us, the problem is we can't even build a system to acquire new leads because we have a cash problem, right? We can't even go to paid ads because we have a problem with cash flow. If that's the case, then everything that you focus on, your one goal for 2026 needs to be able to solve this problem. Because if you don't have the cash to grow, you can't run paid ads. That means you don't have the ability to fix this problem, or any other problem on the sheet. If your problem is cash flow, your one thing that you need to focus on in 2026 is having enough money in the bank. I want you to have 10 or 15 or 20 grand in the bank so that you can go to paid ads and breathe. And then you're running paid ads and you can breathe a little bit and you're not stressed out and you're not, we're going to be stressed at every stage of the game. When we solve one, right, the next one brings a different kind of stress, right? But that's kind of part of life. But when you don't have the cash in the bank and you have, that problem, that is the one problem you've got to solve, is that you've got to be able to run paid ads so that you can get to the point where you lose money on paid ads to figure out what works. Then you get to a point where you win. Then you get to the point where you print money. And then you get to the point where you scale. And then the fifth is, I'm going to put it nicely because I like the word finance better than the word debt. But this is one of the 6 constraints in the theory of business constraints, is that you're in debt so much. Yeah, you've got the cash, but it's all going to service the debt, right? So your constraint of your business is to free up that cash so that you can run acquisitions, so that you can make the sales and you can ship the product, right? you need to solve the debt problem. And your one focus is to solve the debt problem so that you can free up the cash so that you can free up the other stuff. And then the hardest one that you always will have for your entire life, and this is the biggest challenge of scaling. You see me trying to solve that in my business here with you, people. Okay, I can't tell you the amount of clients that I have that are being dragged down because they have employees that they are just putting up with. I mean, there are people in my coaching program that I've literally said they're not allowed on Zoom calls with me in the future because I won't work with them because they are such a drag to the business that they are literally going to destroy every effort that it is to grow the business. If you have a people problem, what you need to do is have a tough conversation and have tough conversations more often. In fact, I forget who said it, if it was Hormozy or Kennedy. They basically said, you can get anywhere in life if you're willing to have more tough conversations, because none of us want to have tough conversations, but you can get anywhere in life. Your freedom is on the other side of some tough conversations. And so if you have, there's a few different types of people problem. Number one is you've got people in your business that are actively dragging down your business. And so you've solved acquisition. You get the leads, you make the sales, you start to fill the process, and then they meet this customer rep of your business, and they just destroy any relationship you have with this business, right? And if you want to know you've got a people problem, you're not sure, go look at your reviews. If your reviews say things like, I was on the range and I was screamed at, I'll never be back, right? You probably got a people problem, right? If your reviews are, holy smokes, I can't believe how awesome all of the staff is, you probably aren't struggling in that department. The service of the people may not be the problem, but just being able to get good people in your business may be the problem, right? Talent costs money. And maybe you can't get talent to solve your problem because you don't have enough cash yet. So so cash might be your problem because you can't afford the talent that you need, right? In my business, I would much rather hire people that are great with people than anything else, because everything else I can train for. I can train you how to sell a gun. I can train you how to run Momentum HQ. I can train you how to do marketing. I can't train you to be a nice person, right? That's one of the reasons I love Toby and Martin so much, is that their attitude is always amazing. Even if they're have done something wrong, and I'm like, guys, we could have done this better. Their attitude is amazing, and so hire for attitude first. Jim says the longer you keep the wrong person, the more damage is done to morale, momentum, and clarity. And I cannot stress this enough: is that in 2026, if your business is suffering because you have the wrong people in play, it's better for you to just cut it clean and move on immediately than to continue to suffer, because your constraint is people, and until you can fix your constraint with people, you can't fix your business. Your business cannot grow. It is not possible. When I talk about the theory of constraints, the theory is that you have one constraint hindering growth. And until you solve that one constraint, your business cannot grow. But your constraint is going to hop around in it, but it will always be one of these six. So there's the one constraint of people, where the people are dragging your business down. Maybe they don't want to change. Maybe they don't want to follow a new process. Maybe they don't want to maybe they just treat your customers like crap and they'll never come back, right? Whatever it is, that's one, is that the person is not up to par on that. Another is we just can't find the right person, right? We can't find a great, for instance, I heard a story about a business who couldn't, right? They had all of the demand in the world. A plumbing agency had all the demand in the world. And every time we get a new plumber, we do $300,000 a year on that new plumber. And we've got all the demand, we just can't service the need. So the question is, why wasn't that plumbing business paying $50,000 in recruitment to find that new plumber? Because if he spends the $50,000, he makes $300,000. And the answer is, well, I just didn't think of that, right? So whatever the constraint is, you have to do whatever it takes to fix that problem. And you can look at it from a financial point of view and be willing to invest more in solving that problem. And then the third people issue is that you just don't have anybody that that you feel that nobody can do the job as well as you can. Okay, that if you hire somebody, they're just never going to be able to do the job that you can. And this is a real thing. I think about this in my business, right? This is a real thing, that nobody could ever do it the way that I can. And if that's the case, the biggest recommendation I can give to you is a recommendation that Murph brought to the table a few weeks ago. buy the book called The E-Myth Revisited. Buy this on Amazon today and read through the E-Myth Revisited. What the general gist of this is, if you can't hire somebody with a high school diploma education to run that job role that you have, the problem is not that the failure is not that you can't hire somebody as good as you. The failure is that you haven't made it into a system that anybody can take and run with, right? That's the problem. That's what the E-Myth says. And so your problem is a process problem that you need to solve, which I really feel like goes into the people category. Okay. So what I want you guys to set goals for 2026, before you even set goals, like I want to train 50,000 people, I want to certify, I want to do $50,000 in revenue. What I want you to do is I want you to look at your business and I want you to say, is my problem in lead acquisition, or once I get the lead, a sales problem? Is it a fulfillment or a product problem, which is currently my problem? Is it a cash flow problem, a finance debt service problem, or is it a people problem? And I want you to spend every waking moment on nothing but that. So if you're rebuilding your website instead of customer acquisition, don't do it. If you're spending time building something in Momentum HQ that's not going to drive new customers, don't do it. If your problem is acquisition and you're, going to networking events, don't do it. Acquisition can only be fixed by paid ads, period. That's the only way that you're going to fix it. If your problem is you can't run paid ads because you don't have the cash, fix it. Do some sort of extraordinary event where you're just generating people in a room where you can pitch them, close some deals, take that money and run them into paid ads. If you are filling your class and you can't get them to upsell, you have a sales problem. Fix your pitch, right? Find your one constraint. Fix the one constraint, then move on to the next constraint. It's whack-a-mole. You'll always have a constraint, and your entire business should be focused on fixing that constraint until you're at $1 million a month. And then at that point, what I would do is sell, sell it, retire, be done.